Welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Michael Agadjanyan this evening. He's Vice President, Professor, and Head of the Department of Molecular Immunology at the Institute for Molecular Medicine, Huntington Beach, California. It's a nonprofit scientific research organization. They're focused on chronic human diseases, including neurodegenerative diseases. He has vast experience in the central nervous system, as well as years of experience in immunology. He's joining us today to talk about licensing of IMM's universal vaccine platform technology known as MultiTEP to a new biotechnology startup, Nuravax. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Agadjanyan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, it looks like you wear several hats, Professor and Head of the Department of Molecular Immunology at IMM. Give us a brief look into your professional background, and then tell us why you chose Nuravax to be your next entrepreneurial challenge.
First of all, I am an immunologist and a vaccine researcher, and all my life I work with various vaccines, including vaccine against HIV, HTLV, and other viruses, including flu. And more recently, after seminal work of Dr. Schenk, which was published in journal Nature in 1999, I started to look for the possibility to generate the vaccine against basically neurodegenerative disorders, and specifically Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. So because of my knowledge of immunology and self and foreign antigens, I came up with this idea to start to generate the MultiTEP platform, which will be basically universal, and whatever you like to put it in, you can put it in. If you have a target flu, you will put it target flu. In this case, we used target amyloid, and we used also target tau. This is two hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. Basically, A beta and tau aggregate, which is accumulated into the brain of people. They basically generated the disease. But this is only beginning of the disease. The disease is starting when we have inflammation, oxidative stress, and eventually we have a death of neuron. So that is what we would like to prevent. When disease is already there, it's very difficult to change anything because this is multifactorial disease, and there's, as I mentioned, involved various pathologies there. And that is why we are suggesting with a vaccine to prevent the disease rather than treat it. In fact, the majority of vaccine, if not all, which we are using in human population now, it's a preventive vaccine. There are not therapeutic vaccines. So MultiTEP is one of the platform which we developed at the Institute for Molecular Medicine, and now we are trying to use that for the prevention of Alzheimer's disease by attaching to that like small part of amyloid molecule, a pathological molecule, or tau pathological molecule, or both. We can target both of them. As to you ask about company, I think non-profit organization is very good. And while IMM will continue to focus on the development of new breakthrough products based on that platform, Nuravax can pose as a change the landscape of neurodegenerative disease prevention. The company will basically onboard experts in clinical development, and we already have people which are in leadership of the Nuravax, and using that, we more rapidly can move to the phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trial and accelerate the preventive vaccine for Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. That is why combination of both will be interesting, non-profit and profit, I'm sure.
At what age do we normally start to see symptoms of Alzheimer's? And if we live long enough, are we guaranteed to develop Alzheimer's or some other neurodegenerative disease?
Neil, it's a very good question. Thank you for that. 65 years is considered to be time when people are starting to generate disease. But with aging, it's accelerated. So in 80 years old people, we have already 25% that could generate Alzheimer's. In 90, we will have probably 40 or something like that. So is that true that this is disease related with aging? But at the same time, we can see pathology already, not a disease maybe, but pathology, accumulation of amyloid and tau in the brain of younger people. For example, 30, 40 years old people can have accumulated A beta in the brain. It doesn't mean that they will definitely go to Alzheimer, progress to Alzheimer's disease, but it is a big chance that they will. So because of that, the major point which has changed the landscape of Alzheimer's disease and move from therapy to the prevention also related with biomarkers. Today, in the last 20 years, we have now biomarkers in the brain, which is basically detection with PET scan. We have a biomarkers in CSF, which is basically detected by numbers, quantity of A beta and tau molecule in the CSF, as well as from the last 5-6 years, we have several interesting biomarkers in plasma. Of course, non-invasive biomarkers, which is blood biomarkers, is most important thing, which is changing the landscape from therapy to prevention. And for that, you need to have a preventive vaccine, because using monoclonal antibody for prevention is quite frankly not feasible, specifically related with frequent injection of very high concentration of monoclonal antibody with a cost about $50,000 or $100,000 per year.
Is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's the only type of neurodegenerative disorders that MultiTEP is designed to address, or are there a wide variety of diseases that this technology can be used in?
Well, currently we are targeting definitely neurodegenerative disorders in per se, because when we're discussing anti-tau vaccine which will generate antibodies to pathological tau, we're discussing not only Alzheimer's disease, but various tauopathies too. As to the Parkinson's disease, you're mostly looking for alpha-synuclein. That's another molecule involved in, which is accumulated in the brain of people, and that which is bringing people to the, unfortunately, to Parkinson's disease. But except neurodegenerative disorders, MultiTEP probably can be used for, it's a universal platform. So it can be for any other diseases if that disease can be cured or prevented by antibodies. If that's it, so then yes, we need to get the MultiTEP attached to its appropriate target related to that disease, and then we probably can do everything. In fact, they asked it from NIA to develop based on MultiTEP a COVID vaccine too, but for elderly, because that MultiTEP platform is extremely important for elderly people. Elderly people do not have much so-called naive T helper cells, which is one of the important components of the immune system. But they do have, with age, growing of so-called memory T helper cells, because during our lifespan, we got vaccinated with many different vaccines, which are very important for our health. And then we got infected with flu, with bacteria, with this and that. And we always increase in our immune system memory. And that memory T helper cells are increased in aged people. So our MultiTEP platform specifically designed to target that memory T cells. Although naive T cells also will be activated. And that allowed us to use MultiTEP platform for the vaccine, not only for middle-aged people, young people, but also for the elderly. And this is extremely important. Thank you for that question.
Could you give us a website or two where we can learn more about immunology and about Nuravax as well?
Yeah, of course. We first of all, we published a lot of papers. So in PubMed, you can find a lot of papers published. And if you will put it, my last name, which is very complicated, and with M, so then you will find almost all papers related with that. On top of that, yes, we can have a website for Nuravax, which I guess Nuravax.com. And that in Nuravax.com, you can find out information about MultiTEP and our technology and the future direction, because we are simply going soon to the phase 1 trials, and then we will go to phase 1 and 2 trial with a tau vaccine and dual vaccine, which would target both pathologies simultaneously.
Well, I appreciate you, Michael, joining us here on Health Professional Radio this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Neil.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.